All right. Hey, what's up? Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, Twitter, YouTube, and First Fridays, Ipsy. We're here with Grove Sessions. My name is Rick Coughlin, CEO and co-founder of Grove Studios. I'm here with Max Price.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah, and this is a special episode because we have one of our very favorite people in here today. We got Lori Stratton.
Woo!
Of the Stratton Setlist, one of the coolest blogs, music blogs around. I read it every time it gets published, and I just really enjoy her writing and just the depth at which she goes into things with the artists in Michigan.
Yeah,
and it's just
sure.
it's like always super informative to read. And the language that you use around describing the music is just always like feels
Rich.
really accurate. And rich is a good word.
Yeah, for sure.
And you get that from somebody who's a professional in the field of writing and knowing how to use language. And, to have somebody of your caliber writing about local music is a blessing to all of us as artists. I mean, speaking as myself, I don't think my band has particularly been on the Stratton Setlist yet, but some of my favorite bands have, and I always love your coverage. So thanks for taking time out of your day and your week to come hang out with us. I should also mention that Lori works a dual role here at Grove Studios. She's the communications coordinator, and so she does amazing things by sort of keeping us in line about how we communicate.
Yeah, she's helped us out so much over the past few months, doing the writing and the copy for so many different things.
Yeah. So
and
thanks.
Her insight is amazing as well.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's
For
fun.
sure.
This is a fun thing to do on a Friday night. Definitely the highlight of my week.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's like
no
a
doubt.
party. It's like
It
we're
is.
partying right now.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
a new type of partying.
I'll take
It
it.
is. And it's cool because there's some First Fridays events going on. So if you're joining us and you're you're coming out of the First Fridays events, there's stuff going all around town. Anybody that's watching that's not from Ypsilanti, we have this great organization and event called First Fridays, and it's the first Friday of every month. And there's just cool stuff happening around town. And now that we're not like in phase 1 or 2 of lockdown, we can actually go out and do stuff. We got to wear these goofy masks, but we can still like enjoy people and
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's worth
do
it to wear-
things.
yes, to have the mask to enjoy the people is worth it.
Totally worth it for sure.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
stay safe as well. I
Yes.
mean, as long as you're, outside or in a socially distanced place with the people that you're seeing, you just got to stay safe about it.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. So it's, I feel like I just want to like start out because I'm really curious mostly because I know you have this professional life that you do, and not to say that the Stratton Setlist isn't a professional life, but it's a passion project.
Yes.
And you love the music. You love, you're a huge music fan. But you've done other things before you kind of started doing the Stratton Setlist, right?
Yes.
What got you into, or what started this path of I'm going to start a blog? Because I think people wonder sometimes, like, should I do a blog or should I
Yes,
not do a
yes.
blog, or that kind of thing? Like, what's your story when it comes to that?
So I've always been a music fan my whole life. So it was always in the background. Like my parents, my brother got me into all kinds of music growing up. So I was always listening to different things and watching MTV back in the day when it was still videos.
Wait, what kind of videos?
Still videos?
Oh yeah.
When,
Yeah,
when
it
they
was
actually
great.
played music,
Yeah,
it was
back when
fantastic.
MTV
Back in the
was
80s, yeah.
actually music television. Yeah, I remember that.
And listen to the radio. I always had a big like record, tape, CD collection. I still do.
Yeah.
But I just spent a lot of time listening to music, and I always enjoyed it. But it never really occurred to me to do anything with it other than just enjoy it, other than go to shows. But I always wrote, so I wrote like for the paper in high school. I wrote fiction for fun as a kid. I wrote poetry. And then I went to college and majored in journalism, but I ended up going like a corporate track for my career because that's where a lot of the opportunities were at the time. And I did that, enjoyed it, met a lot of great people, worked in a lot of different industries, but it's been fun, but music's always been my real passion. And about 5 years ago, a manager I used to work for at a previous company said, he was kind of like my writing mentor at my first job. And he said, Lori, you really need to start a blog with all the music you go to, all the concerts and all the stuff you listen to. And I said, nah, it's like one more thing I got to do. He's like, no, you really should.
It's like, wait a minute, I already worked for you. And now you want me to work for you when I'm not working for you? What?
Well, he was trying to get me to encourage me because he said, your writing has a lot of potential, but if you combine it with music, it probably would, you could do even more with it. And I'm like, I don't know. No one's going to want to read it, I don't know when I'm going to have time. And so about 5 years ago, I said, let me just start writing stuff. So I started writing stuff, and I wrote more about, major acts that I had seen in concert. Like, I was a big Fleetwood Mac fan. I'm a big Genesis fan. I would write about...
I love it.
I would write about their music, like a new album would come out. I'd write about a new single, but I wouldn't really interview them. I would just, reflect on it. And I thought, well, this is kind of fun. But then I thought, well, I don't know what my voice is for this blog. So I was trying to figure that out for a long time. And then a few years ago, I went to actually a music business event at U of M for students. But I asked to come because I wanted to get a chance to learn more about the industry.
Yeah.
So I went. And at the time, I had met some people, and and I told them what I was doing, and they encouraged me. And I thought, what if I turn this into local stuff? There's got to be a lot of great local artists. And I knew of some, but I wasn't really following it that closely, and I decided, why don't we try this? So actually, one of the first people I ever interviewed was Chris DuPont.
Oh, nice, yeah. I love Chris's music.
Yeah. So I went to a Rock the District concert in downtown Ann Arbor 3.5 years ago, and he performed, and he said, hey, I'm going to come out with a hybrid live studio album. And I thought, why not interview him? So I, reached out to him and really had a great conversation, really liked his music, and said, hey, this is cool. There's so many great local people. What if I just start doing more of that? And so that's what I did. So I started finding people through shows we would go to locally in the area. I started, finding them on Facebook and tracking shows they were going to and going to those, listening to them on streaming platforms, buying their music. And it just kind of grew from there. And then I just started, the more I wrote, the more I heard from people, And I just realized that there's just this wealth of talent just all over Michigan.
Yeah. Underrepresented as well.
There's no doubt.
I mean, there's definitely not enough. We could use 100 more Lori Strattons trying to support the music industry because what you do is so valued, and it's so needed for artists right now.
Well, and I found that there's so many great artists that I brag to my friends about. You really need to listen to this person. You really need to listen to that person. This band is great. If you like, Arcade Fire, you're going to like somebody else. If you like, this hip-hop artist, you're going to like somebody else. So, I just have found that it just broadened kind of my perspective of all these artists that are out there locally. And I've met plenty of great ones, too, that have reached out to me from, L.A., New York, and Nashville, and other places around the country. And even in Latin America, I've interviewed people in Brazil and Mexico and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, those are great. But they found me and stuff like that, so it's all over. But my idea is I like to represent the independent artist, whether they're just starting out or they've been doing it for years. That's what I like to do is support the DIY artists in their journey and try to show that there are plenty of great artists to feature, and everyone has something to offer. And there are more than enough critics out there who say enough negative things about artists that I don't believe in that. I believe that everyone has talent. I believe that everyone has something to contribute, and we all need to share their voice.
For sure.
And they inspire me as a writer. When I listen to all kinds of music, it inspires me, and that's how it kind of comes through in the descriptions. And I like to get in depth with people. I like to learn, who are your influences? Where do you come from? How did you get started? At what age did you play an instrument? I always ask everybody that because I'm fascinated to know, how did you start this journey? Because I don't play an instrument, but I'm fascinated to watch how people learn and where they end up to where they are now.
Yeah. That's one of the things I like about your blog is that you do go into that stuff. And I learn about other artists. I mean, you just released a playlist on Spotify. And I started listening. I'm not done. I only got part of the way through it.
What's it called?
It's actually called the Stratton playlist.
On
Stratton
Spotify.
Playlist.
Yeah.
Which is it's a great name. It's perfect.
Right now. Go check it out.
check out the Stratton playlist on Spotify, y'all. It's got a bunch of music. I don't know if they're all local artists.
Most of them are, but some of them are not. So I try to mostly focus on Michigan because that's the majority of the people I talk to and profile, but there's a lot of great artists I hear from other parts of the country, and I mentioned even outside of the U.S. that I like to feature. But the
Cool.
idea is to have a variety of genres, a variety of representation, because I like covering all genres. I just don't like focusing on one.
Yeah.
Because I listen to all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What are some of your favorite genres to listen to?
Oh man, so like I would say like indie rock. I'm a big like indie alt rock fan. I also enjoy prog rock. I'm a big progressive rock fan. I listen to a lot of R&B. I have pop rock. I listen to jazz.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some folk represented in there.
Definitely.
You got,
a lot of folk, yeah.
it's a diverse playlist. And yeah, you have great taste in music, and I didn't know some of these artists, so it's really cool. Like, sometimes I get bored with my own personal music taste and stuff that I sort of like gravitate towards, and I'm like itching for something new.
Yes.
And I was itching for something new, and then I saw your playlist pop up, and I was like, perfect.
And it's always like a challenge for me to like narrow it down because there's so many good people. So it's always like a good 2.5 hours of music I put on there. So
Yeah.
with the idea being you could listen to it during the workday if you want. You could listen to it at home when you're doing stuff in the car. And the idea is to have a variety of artists for people to discover that may not normally get the exposure.
Yeah.
I like to really give a lot of newer artists starting out the exposure because I feel like they deserve that. And a lot of people don't necessarily always want to do that. They want the more established artists. And and the established artists are great too. That's not what I mean because I love them, support them as well too. But the newer people need that extra, I believe that extra push, that extra encouragement to keep doing it because maybe they've only released 1 or 2 singles or they're just starting out. And they need a voice out there so people hear it.
Yeah, I love that.
And talking about just starting out and learning how people got into things, I would love to. You said that you've been writing like since high school, and what really drew you to writing in the first place and just kept you doing it throughout your life,
Yeah, I would say like, and actually my writing goes back farther, like even middle school. I would say I started writing stuff, but primarily in high school. But what I enjoyed about it, I've always been a people person, an extrovert, but I've always wanted a way to kind of also like channel my feelings or what I'm going through. So writing was one way to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so with creative writing, I had a chance to write poetry. And honestly, one of the people who inspired me a lot with poetry and like fiction writing was Stevie Nicks. So I was a big fan of hers growing up. And, I've listened to her music with Fleetwood Mac and with solo, and a lot of that just inspired me. It was like very dramatic and very artsy and very just over the top, but that's how she is, and I've always loved her because of that. And I felt like she inspired me, so I could kind of channel a lot of that teenage like angst in high school, with all the various relationships and things that happen as a way to kind of express that in a positive way. And then at the same time, I was doing journalism in high school, so that's kind of what got me down the journalism route. And I've always been someone who's always asked a lot of questions. My parents would always say, Lori, you've been asking questions for as long as you can talk. So it was like a natural ability.
Right.
And then with the inclination to write, it was a good fit. And it just sort of always came well to me is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I love writing as well, and writing is an amazing outlet. And we need outlets, especially nowadays when we're just consuming. You got to put some of that energy, back out.
Yeah, you do.
You're gonna go crazy. What are some tips for someone that maybe wants to get into like a music industry writing career, but they love writing, they love music. And now, how do they put those two things together?
Well, the nice thing is anybody can publish a blog these days, which is nice. Because you don't have to like wait to get hired somewhere to do it. You can do it. You can start it yourself. And you can shape it how you want. So if you want to do, if you want it to be a video blog, you could do that. If you want it to be more of a writing blog, you could do that. And the nice thing is just a matter of having the outlet. To do that. Like I just started on WordPress on a free platform, and you don't have to, right now now it's changed because I've grown it. But when I first started, you don't have to pay anything. So you don't really have to invest any money. It's just time if you want to do it. And people can, start write about your favorite artist. It could be, a reflection on a song you like or an album. And then maybe that's one step. And then another step might be, if you haven't discovered the local music in your area, start to do that. Watch live stream shows right now. Listen to stuff on streaming. Buy their merch off of Bandcamp or their website to support that. And then maybe reach out to one of them to like say, hey, I want to review your album. I'd like to talk to you about your album or your single. and see what that's like. So there's a lot of different ways you could start out. And the nice thing about social media is you can put that out there to connect with other people who share similar interests, and then you can find other artists who might want to work with you or talk with you. So that's really, it doesn't cost anything. You can do it on your own, and then you could also join, or you can join other blogs where they're looking for a lot of contributors too. Now they're usually unpaid, but if you're passionate enough about it and want to do it, you can become an editor or a writer for any other type of music blog too.
Yeah.
So almost all of them are looking for contributors, in that regard. So.
Yeah, that's great. And do you have any like key things that have helped you with your writing over the years? Like key things where you're like, this just completely changed, the way that I looked at writing or the way that, I do things.
Yeah. So like a lot of things I've done in the past is read a lot of like autobiographies by artists. So like they could be any level, any genre. And I've read about kind of their insight and what inspires them. So that's helped me somewhat by reading more. Another thing is kind of, as I've listened more to music, one of the things I found that I like to do more is quote lyrics in my articles. So like I'll listen to a lyric from someone and say, oh, I think that really explains like what they're trying to say about the song, or this might really capture someone's interest. So I found that kind of broadens the article, that people like to hear like, what is, that gives me a better perspective about the artist and a couple of lyrics from their song. Hey, that looks interesting. I want to actually listen to the track, or listen to the album. So I found that adds kind of some depth and richness to it. And what I like about that too is then also describing what the songs sound like, so that people get a chance to say, oh, it might have this type of feeling. So the guitar sounds a certain way, the drums sound a certain way, the keys. Again, I'm not a musician. This is kind of like me interpreting that the best of my ability.
You can still go in depth into the experience.
Yeah,
of
and that's what I'm trying to say.
On,
yeah, so I recognize when certain things sound like, but I couldn't necessarily tell you like what type of guitar it was all the time, or what type of drum kit it was. But I could tell you how it made me feel, or I could tell you what it. I could recognize a drummer's sound if I listened to their music enough. As an example.
Well, and like, because you have such a good command of the language, like, and you're such a music fan, I find that like, even though you're not a musician, you still really connect with me. Like, I am a musician, and I also, I taught English. So for me, it's like, I'm seeing what you're doing, and you do it really well. Like, you use, terms and phrases like, somber and sparkling piano and thumping drums and melancholic bass, where I'm like, oh, I kind of get I get what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I think that's such a talent, like to find the right words to describe something that doesn't have words.
And that's what I'm trying.
That's a very not everybody can do that.
Personification of the music.
It really is. It's cool, and that's why I enjoy reading your stuff so much. So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't even think about that really. I just do it, and I guess I'm trying to say like when I listen to the music, what is the feeling I get from it? Not just what the lyrics and what the artist is singing, but also what's being played. And I try to convey that. Now I could be totally off from what the artist interpreted or what their initial intent was, but this is my interpretation of what I feel. So
that's a huge thing for artists too that we've talked about previously on here. Is just like learning. I mean, even me as an artist, I didn't know for so long like how to create. Music that made people feel something. Like I was always trying to tell my story or like my, point or my message that I wanted to say, but like really being able to get someone to feel something.
Yes.
That is the most powerful part of music, I really think.
And I would say, and there's a lot of artists I've talked to where their music gives me a huge sense of peace when I listen to it. And that to me is the ultimate music experience.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
If I have a sense of peace or I cry,
right.
you made me cry. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Take my money, please. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what we're all just looking for, some peace, So
yes.
you can get that from the music.
And I can be crying with a sense of peace, like a relief, like an outlet, because they've sung about something that I can relate to, or it might just be a feeling in the way the instrumentation is presented that really gives me a feel.
And sometimes even me, like thinking about an artist's story, or just like, wow, this person really came from absolutely nothing and is like so being successful now. Like this is like that can make me emotional too,
Yes. Oh, I absolutely. And when I get to know them as a person, when I've done an interview or seen them live in the past and that sort of thing, that gives me a whole new perspective on their music. Like, I'll interview them. Maybe it's on the phone or maybe it's in person when it was pre-COVID. And then I would go see them at shows, mostly pre-COVID, unless, in person, unless it's a live stream. And I'd get a chance to really appreciate them more as an artist and as a person, because I understand the stories behind the songs. I understand how they came up with it. It gives me a whole another level of appreciation for it, of them and what they're putting out.
Yeah, and then you're able to transmit that level of appreciation to other people through the words that you say.
Yes.
Which is incredible. I mean, like, reading your articles it's just a different experience. You get to take a deep dive. I've been so blown away by everything that you've written, for Grove and about the Grove events, and anything that I've written on your or read on your blog is really amazing. So we're just super honored to have you as a part of the team.
Well,
honestly.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be part of it.
Yeah, because I've been seeing what you've been doing for a long time, and then Rick one day was just like, yeah, Lori's going to be a part of the team. And it was one of the happiest days of the year, I have to say.
For sure. I actually just dropped, not to totally change the subject, but I just dropped a link to your Spotify channel.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Because you have quite, for the listeners, there's a bunch of playlists on there. So you guys can dig deep into that, and some of like Lori's favorite music, obviously. It's pretty cool to like listen to those playlists, because it's almost like being in the mind of Lori.
It's
and
Lori radio.
You know what I mean? It is basically. And we were talking about that. We were talking earlier, like, is Lori, is she just going to do her own show? Because maybe she should. It's like the Lori, just the Stratton. I don't know. We gotta have to come up with a snappy Stratton Setlist podcast.
Yeah,
that sounds kind of. I don't know.
It's a little long, okay, but it might work.
Yeah.
But is that ever anything you've thought about before, like doing a podcast?
All the time, yeah. I've thought it was just a matter of the time to do it.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, and to have the right like technical resources.
Sure.
So like this is the first time I would probably have that type of resource, because I'm not like a technical wizard by any means when it comes to like editing or doing any of that. I would just want to have an outlet to talk with people and share what they're doing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, good news.
Are you a podcast fan? Do you like listen to podcasts?
I do somewhat. Yeah, mostly if it's more music related. So just to kind of get to know artists and what's going on. So
yeah. I just love the genre of podcast, because it's kind of like the new radio, but it's untethered and decentralized, so you can kind of just do whatever you want.
And it's nice because you give people a chance to get real in depth and get real specific about a certain topic if they want,
Yeah.
And you find stuff that you wouldn't otherwise find. I mean, I run across new podcasts all the time I'm just like, wow, it's amazing.
I've learned more on podcasts than probably in school. I've
learned a lot
as far to say that.
Yeah, it's just because of, like I said, all the different like topics out there that you can specialize in, whatever it may be. Some are long, some are short. That's the nice thing.
And I was actually paying attention when I was listening to the podcast in school. I mean, at least in high school.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to pay attention.
That's always a challenge.
That's for sure.
Pay attention. So as far as the like the podcast, or not podcast, but the blog goes, like, I know people talk about like, how do you monetize blogs and how do you do all that kind of thing? I know it's a passion for you. Do you see, just continuing to expand the readership? Do you have interest in like, being just that, or is there like a bigger plan?
I mean, I just kind of let it grow organically. So like, as I've met more people, I've written more, as I've put more stuff out there. I'm just honestly, I want it to be more about the artist than about me. I want it to be about showcasing them and telling their story,
cool.
and sharing their music. If it grows into something that's like full time, great. But if it doesn't, that's okay. The important thing is it's what I enjoy to do. And I like the fact of being able to support and promote and champion what artists are doing. And if it stays at this point, and that's and that's mostly where it is, I'm happy with that. I just like the idea of being able to do it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it monetizes, great. If it doesn't, that's not as important to me as sharing the music and being a supporter of people. That's really what I care about.
Yeah, and I think that really shines through, like, with what you do. I mean, you really care, and you put the care and the attention into it.
Thank you.
And that's what makes it so good.
Yeah. I think because you have that, I think that if and when you decide to monetize it, and somehow monetizing it will be the easy part because you're doing the hard part now. You know what I mean? Like you have this core value of like, I'm here to showcase the artist and share their story. And, that really shines through the way you write about artists and, whether they're new to the scene or they've been doing it for a while. Right. You give them this sort of equal treatment and respect in how you write about them, and that really shines through too. And I think that's pretty amazing. I just have to point this out that Daniel Wall suggests Lori's list.
I actually saw that. I kind of like.
He likes the alliteration, right?
I'm all for the alliteration. Definitely.
That's right. Yeah. And Daniel also wants to know if there is a yacht rock list.
Tell him yes, because we had this discussion about how much we love Christopher Cross and like Michael McDonald.
Oh yeah, that's right. He said something about Michael McDonald.
He's
right.
Yeah.
Totally. Like I'm gonna go off like on a total tangent here about yacht rock, but
I love yacht rock. That's my other favorite Johnny you meant to ask about, and I meant to include that one. Thanks, Daniel.
Christopher Cross was like a fixture in my house growing up.
Guy.
Yeah, I must have heard that song sailing like a billion times in my life, and it's actually a really good song. But have you ever seen? There's on YouTube. There's like it's pretty old. It's got to be like I don't know, like early days of YouTube. It's like a really low budget series of videos these guys made. And I think it's actually called Yacht Rock.
I've heard about it, but I've never watched it. But people have told me about it. I've heard about it, yes.
It's so bad. But you have to watch it. It's ridiculous. I wish I could like show it to the audience right now because it's so funny. It's so ridiculous. I highly recommend it if you're into yacht rock.
Well, when I was growing up, my mom was a big yacht rock fan, but at the time we didn't call it yacht rock, but we listened to a lot of like easy listening stuff late 70s, early 80s when that stuff was huge.
Oh yeah.
And I just sort of grew up with it. And then a few years ago I found out Sirius XM had a yacht rock channel and I went nuts and just like listened to it. So it's like it's my like guilty pleasure genre, but I love it.
It's so funny because like that, even the term yacht rock is funny to me because it was like growing up, that was like not what people called it. It was just I don't even know what it was.
Easy listening to soft rock.
Yeah. Or was it hot AC?
Yeah, it could be
back then.
Yeah,
like adult contemporary or something.
Adult contemporary. I've never been okay with that like phrase.
I hate it.
Sounds
it's good. Not good.
But like my mom listened to everything that was adult contemporary when I was growing up, so that's kind of like where I got into a lot of that without realizing that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate it. I can appreciate some adult contemporary, I guess, if I have to say it.
I'm sure I like the music. It's really just the phrase,
Yeah.
Yacht rock is such a better title.
Yeah,
anyway.
I like the yacht rock.
Well,
that makes me feel like I'm on a yacht, with some sandals, kicking back.
Right. Daniel said AM Gold.
Yeah, AM Gold.
I actually posted a link to the YouTube channel that does yacht rock. There's like multiple episodes. Go ahead and watch episode 1. You'll hate me later. You guys are going to be up at like midnight watching it tonight.
I totally need to watch it because people have told me that a lot, and I always like forget to watch it, but I'll check it out.
It's really entertaining. It's really bad, but it's super entertaining.
Yeah, but that's what makes it appealing. Is it's so bad it's good.
Yeah, yeah. Kenny, Kenny Loggins shows up.
Oh, perfect.
And the Doobie Brothers and Michael McDonald is it's like the whole
the whole
everybody.
Crowd.
Yeah, Christopher Cross. Jeff the Skunk Baxter's in there. Like they got you got to watch it. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Gosh, I was like totally on this tangent about yacht rock. Then now I'm thinking about Steely Dan. I have to stop.
Oh yeah, all the same. I've listened to all that for years.
It's just that it's the stuff we grew up on. But,
yeah, it is.
I'm really glad though. Like it's interesting. Like if we're talking about music and that genre. Some of the new like young artists that are coming out almost are kind of like throwing back to that sound a little bit.
That's what I love that.
Hearing it.
I love that because I love when like if you listen to a lot of like, indie artists, like I'll hear this a lot on Sirius XMU. That's one of my favorite like satellite radio channels, and I'll listen to it, and you'll hear a lot of younger artists who have the yacht rock influence or like you know, I'll say even like early 80s rock, you hear like Hall & Oates influence type, like they'll be using Hall & Oates samples and songs and things like that. Like I just think that's the coolest thing because maybe they didn't grow up with it, but it's like new to them, you know, and they're kind of reintroducing that to a different audience in a new way.
Yeah. One of the best things that I learned at Dime, you know, I learned tons of stuff, but one of the things that one of the teachers said is reach back 30 years, 40 years, and just take it because the kids don't even know what that stuff is.
They don't.
So they, you know, you just kind of repurpose it, repackage it with a more modern type feel.
Yes.
And, you know, there you go.
And you find, like, I mean, as an artist too, like you find these sounds and these like sonic soundscapes. Like as a guitar player, it's like you can go back and you can look at some of the effects that were used back then to get certain sounds. And you can throw them into a new environment and they sound fresh all of a sudden. It's like there was a period in time where everybody said, no, I'm not using a phaser on my guitar, forget that. That sounds like old people music. But wait a few years and all of a sudden the phaser's cool again. That's why I kept my phaser. From 1970, it's still there, you know. It's like
it's like, you know, I saved as like my equivalent of that as a music fan is I kept all my tapes and records as a kid from everything I listened to, whether it was like boy bands back in the day, pop, or like, you know, old 70s stuff, 60s.
You kept all of it.
I have all of it.
I love that.
You know, I saved it all. It's in my basement. I have to organize it, but I have all of it.
That's great.
And I, you know, because I believe in keeping all that because there's going to be someday I might want to go back and listen to a certain album from when I was a kid. You know, seriously.
We could have a heck of a listening party between all our collections.
Oh my God.
Do you have a number of like?
I don't even.
Are you tapes, CDs,
all the above,
and records,
and even 8-tracks,
and even 8-tracks? Wow, you've got 8-tracks.
Not many, but
we're about the same age. I don't even have 8-tracks.
I have 8-tracks.
That's impressive.
One year for my birthday, my husband went on eBay and got me like a portable 8-track player.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he got me several 8-tracks, and I was like,
nice.
Oh.
That's cool. I love that. I mean, God, I remember my dad putting the 8-track he had a little.
Did he have it in his car?
Yeah.
He had a player, but not like in my parents' bedroom. It was a record player, 8-track like combo. But the 8-track busted really early, so they only played the records when we were kids.
Yeah, my dad had a Volkswagen, and he installed. It was like it didn't come with the Volkswagen. It was a Beetle.
Oh, gotcha.
But it was like bolted to the bottom of the dashboard or something like that. And I remember him just clicking them in there, you know, like just a memory that you have, you know. 8-tracks were interesting. It's amazing that you can still find them out there.
You can find them at some of the local record stores, you know, like they're kind of hidden in a bin somewhere. They might have one, but I've gone through them and they sell them for like $1. But some work, some bust. It just depends, you know. They weren't the best quality, but it's just fun to know that was one of the many listening experiences that people had over time.
Totally.
Yeah. I don't even think I've had one life experience with an 8-track.
Yeah, because I mean they just didn't last that long. They just, you know what I mean? It was just
they didn't. Cassettes took over too fast, you know.
Yeah, they were smaller, more durable.
Yeah, I used to record the radio onto like cassette tapes.
I did that too. I did that too. I had like, you know, the blank tapes or record stuff off the radio, and then you know, my husband and I would make each other mixtapes in high school for each other and that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, the mixtape was that was a thing for sure.
It was. We did that. Yeah.
And now people don't do the mixtape thing anymore. They're like, I made a playlist for you on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm sure kids probably pass playlists around, but it's not as like, you know, it's not as meaningful probably.
Because you could design, you know, you could like write stuff on the case,
and that's what you know. And actually, my husband made me a mixtape for my 40th birthday a few years ago, and he tracked like a lot of the artists that we had seen live.
That's awesome.
And was starting to make a series out of them, and we need to pick that back up again, but. It was cool because he had written it out and everything, and somehow made it when I wasn't around, and it was like one of the coolest birthday gifts.
It is, right? Yeah, it's special, and it's interesting because like the tape is like in a niche way, kind of like coming back. I mean, I've been a number of local shows and beyond, and I'm seeing tapes again, and I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know how I feel about it, but like I like the personalized part of it. You know, it feels. You know, it's just
they're kind of cool. They're like small and they're smaller than a CD in a way.
And it's nice because a lot of them, for a younger generation, maybe didn't like grow up with tapes. Like my first album was like a tape, you know, when I was like 6, you know, or whatever. It was like Michael Jackson's Thriller was one of like my very first albums I ever got as a kid, and it was a tape. So like. But I think a lot of the younger artists, they didn't grow up with that, and they like to be able to have that experience. And it's cool to have like something, it's nice to go to a show and like pick up. Like, I understand streaming's convenient and you can hear it and all, anywhere, but like I still would prefer to go to someone's show and buy a copy of their music and bring it home.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a tape, a record, or CD.
Yeah.
Because I like to be able to like give them, say, I'm going to give you money for this, and then I can take this home and enjoy it and make it part of my collection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, I think it was like a year or two ago, maybe, that the vinyl outsold
It still is
CDs.
now.
It's still outselling
still
CDs.
doing that, yeah.
And I actually just bought a record the other day. It was a total like random, like vinyl. It was like a random, it was an impulse buy, but I was like walking.
I do that all the time.
It was at Target for, whatever. I had to like buy Kleenex or something.
Ooh.
And I see Weezer's first the blue album.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't have that.
Yeah.
And it was like $14
Nice.
or something. I was like,
it's a conundrum for artists too, because it's like, artists sell CDs on tour and they're small and easy.
Right.
But people, as much as I would love to believe in the CD, it's just that they took the CD players out of the cars.
yeah.
They took the CD players out of the
story about that,
computers.
Right.
I mean, where are we gonna play our CDs?
I know. Yeah.
People have record players because they love records. I've never once
and you
heard
can still
someone
get
say,
a record player.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got
can you
several.
still
like a CD player? Like what? Where are you gonna get that?
I don't see them. I mean,
eBay.
eBay,
Craigslist, at any
for sure. I'm
But
sure you can find one.
I also don't think there's just a big enough records have that like special sound that people are attached to.
They do.
I don't think there's a big enough sound jump between like CDs and what we're doing right now for people to really be like, oh man, CDs, like I love the sound. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is better than streaming sound, but who knows if people care about that.
Yeah, I think like the vinyl thing is just it's like a commitment and an experience, because you have to be like sitting in a place.
Yes.
It's like this whole intentional thing. It's not, it's like, oh, now I'm going to listen to a record, and you're like really going to get into it. It's a different experience.
Artists are just gonna have to start bringing records on tour.
Well,
instead of CDs. It's gonna get to that point.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is like, with records, I like them because I like the artwork's bigger. I like the liner notes.
Oh yeah.
I just, I'm not an audiophile by any means, but I just like the tangibility of music. That's what I'm more like the tangibility. Like if it's books, I'd rather have a real book.
Yeah.
If it's music, I'd rather have a real copy. But I understand streaming is a way to get it out there. I don't think it's always the most supportive of artists, in terms of what they make from it.
Oh,
per
yeah,
se.
absolutely
I'm not a
not.
huge fan of that.
Yeah.
That's why I like Bandcamp and other sites like that where they're more artist centric.
Yeah, and you can, as an artist,
buy merch.
you can sell your merch on
And I've
Bandcamp.
done
And
that,
you can sell your music directly on a lot of websites where
you
they
can do
won't
it-
even they'll take 0%.
Well, we were just talking about this the other day. We were talking about Bandzoogle as a website.
Bandzoogle, yeah.
Yes.
And
I'm getting into that.
you can build your own website on Bandzoogle,
Yes.
and there's there all these tools built in where you can sell right from your website that you own, and they're not going to take a percentage. Now that means you also have to become a shipping center. It's not like having, sending your stuff to CD Baby or whatever.
You can sell digital downloads of your music.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you can sell those for $1 a piece or $10 if someone wants to support and buy the digital album.
And I've done that too. I've bought digital. I buy digital albums from people too. If that's all they
Yeah.
have available, then I'm happy
Yeah.
to buy that. You know?
I've done that for sure.
The cool thing about Bandzoogle too is it's not just like because Wix and stuff, you can sell your music on Wix
Yes,
and you can do that
yes.
stuff. But Bandzoogle is like made by artists for
Yeah.
music
Okay,
artists.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like specific. It's the only web development platform that's made specifically for music artists.
I'm
which is
actually
pretty
surprised I don't hear musicians talk about it more.
I only
'Cause
hear about Bandzoogle more when it's like artists are giving tips like how to do certain things. Use Bandzoogle for this, use Bandzoogle for that. I've never actually like used anything. I've never used any of their sites or anything. I've seen people have used. I've been on sites for artists using, but I don't know much about what it's like behind the scenes to use. them.
I mean, it's like it's like a template driven kind of website. I mean, you can customize and everything else, but it's because it's built just for musicians or people in the music industry. It's just got a lot of the features that you would want that
Gotcha.
with doing like a Wix site or Squarespace, you'd have to,
those are the ones I see.
or a
lot of,
WordPress,
too.
you'd have to like find a plugin.
You do.
You'd have to
That's
buy
what
that or whatever.
Yes, you do.
Bandzoogle is just like, it's all there for
Cool.
you.
They have ways
Nice.
they have ways to get donations and tips really
Nice.
easily and
Okay,
stuff like
yeah.
that, which is pretty cool.
It's a cool platform.
You know, talking about just the modern music industry and going forward, I mean, press is something that has been involved in the music industry forever.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, there's newspapers going back as long as, you know, history has been here. But, you know, what is the value of press in the modern music industry?
So I think it's, you know, I think it's important to give a voice to me, it's all about giving a voice to the artists. So like, it's to talk about what they're doing, what they're putting out, why they're doing it, how you can help promote them and what they're doing. So for me, I probably, you know, you know, a lot of journalists are, you know, the typical journalism model is you're impartial, you don't really have an opinion, you just report what's going on. And that's fine. But to me, like, I kind of go, I don't necessarily always separate myself. You know, like I'll put my like we were talking about earlier, I'll put my feeling into the article about the music or what they're doing. But I see it more as, for me, it's more of an advocate role for them. You know, I think a lot of people there's still a lot of press out there that reports on what's just going on in the, like whether it's in the industry or it's like a Rolling Stone or any other type of like similar, you know, publications that have been around for years. But even those are dwindling somewhat. They're not publishing as frequently. A lot of people aren't getting paid much for it anymore, you know, so it's tough because a lot of journalism is kind of a dying trade. So you kind of have to adapt to whatever the medium is. And so a lot of it's gone more to the online route. And it's a matter of just trying to find a way to say things. And then social media is a whole nother layer too within the last decade or more to share stuff. And it gives artists a platform to put things out. It gives journalists a chance to share more about what's going on through different Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's definitely grown, and it's decentralized, like we were talking about. So there's just a lot of ways to take it, and a lot of ways to put the voice out there. But for me, I think it's just a matter of being the advocate, talking about what's going on, but also being supportive. That's kind of the difference where like I see it for me versus maybe what traditional media has done in the past, or a lot of times people have been more critics. You know.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, it's just so important for artists, even though, you know, traditional media might not be as effective as it used to be, but, you know, you can still take that article and you can post about it on your social media sites. And that is still extremely powerful, you know. Sharing
content, you know, whether you're sharing the music that artists are putting out or they're sharing a piece that's written about them or someone they know, that's still probably the biggest way to really kind of spread the word and get people, you know, knowledgeable about what's going on and to learn about new music. You know, I have a lot of people that tell me, well, there's no more new music out there. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
I have friends that say that all the time, and they say, like, are guitars not in songs anymore? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. I know there was that talk for a while. People were talking about how like the guitar is dead in modern music. And I'm like, well, maybe if all you listen to is top 40.
But
you know, or whatever, like, but the guitar, I mean, Max tells me all the time, like in hip hop, like the guitar is hot again in hip hop. So I'm like, sweet.
I mean,
things always come back.
I mean, think in the 80s, there was a guitar solo in like all the major top 40 songs.
For sure.
You know.
And the guitar is one of the most like accessible instruments for people all around the world.
Of course.
So it's like kids are learning how to play guitar all around the world.
And it's
millions, probably.
Yes, and portable and easy. It's probably easier to write a song on, I would guess.
You don't need electricity.
Yes.
And just even some of the like more traditional kinds of instruments. I mean, like living in this area, I mean, I routinely see young jazz cats doing jazz.
That's like awesome. Like jazz is one of those genres that I have met so many talented jazz artists just in Washtenaw County alone. That it floors me. Like
really true.
These guys are way younger than me, and they are like classically trained, just unbelievable. And they improvise, and I'm listening to what they're doing, going, "Holy cow!" You know?
Yeah, we're really lucky. I mean, we were lucky to live in the area that we do. I mean, we're surrounded by, colleges and universities, and many of them have music programs. So there's just always this influx of young, talented people that are doing their thing, and it's one of the things I've always loved about this area. So
Well, the nice thing is there's diversity across all areas. And one thing I like is there's a lot of people that I knew that were in music when they were younger, and then they had a day job and a family, and they stepped away for 20 years, and then they came back to it.
right.
And they did albums, and they're in their 50s and 60s and
Sure.
so on. And that to me is inspiring because it shows that just because you're a certain age doesn't mean it's ever too late to do something you really want to do or go back to something maybe you had to put on hold for 20, 30 years, So that to me is inspiring. I've interviewed a lot of artists who've talked about that, and I say, wow,
Yeah, and you gotta it feels so much better to do something that you love to do,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's it clearly comes through in what you do. I mean, you're doing what you love to do, and so you spent a lot of time doing it, and you got really good at it. And the artists I know just appreciate the support because it's hard. Like it's so hard just as an artist yelling out into the universe of social media, like pay attention to me, pay attention to me.
Yes,
this is my music. Pay attention to me.
Very difficult. Like at one point, the internet makes it easy to put all this stuff out there, but at the same time, there's so much that how do you get people to hear you?
Yeah, exactly. And so having someone like you, where it's like this is actually really good, and I appreciate this, and it made me feel this, and you should check it out. That's so valuable in the music industry, and because of the how traditional media isn't as effective anymore, it's so important for people like you with blogs that are doing it, because like you said, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get money doing this, and it's like people, so there's not that many people that can help artists in the deep way that you do, because you care so much.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's only because it's what I love to do, and I appreciate all the art that people put out, and people ask me like, well, what do I need to do to stand apart? And I'm like, you're you. Put your music out.
Yeah,
that makes you unique. You don't have to do any gimmick. You don't have to pick something that's not who you are. Be authentic. Be yourself. That's what makes you stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's great advice.
It's like, oh, well, what do I... No, you don't need to do anything gimmicky or anything special to act like you're somehow different than everybody else. You're you. That's how you're different.
Mm-hmm.
You have a voice, just like all of us.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes a while to develop it, too.
Of course,
I've always wanted to just speak my own voice in the music industry, but it took me a good, 5-10 years to really go through enough life experiences from the time I was, 17 to 27 to really be able to find my voice.
Of course, and honestly, I didn't really start this till I was almost 40. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at the time, I was like, is it too late? Because I didn't do this at 20, I didn't do this at 18. Nope, it's never too late. That's
not
what
at
I
all.
say.
Not at all. Yeah, if you feel inspired to do it, you should do it. You should do it.
Exactly.
And great things can happen.
Absolutely. Right? And it led to your role, here at Grove Studios with us, which is working in music also.
Yes.
And, and so, talk a little bit about your role at Grove Studios as the communications coordinator. What do you do? Like if someone out there is interested in this and they're like, oh, I like music. I like writing. I want to maybe work for a music-based company.
Yes. So the point would be, so for me, it's kind of like promoting about our shows. So I use my own blog to kind of help promote that as well, because I've got this, basically the site.
Got the platform there.
Yeah, so I use it for that. And then also I like the idea of being able to put stories out. So kind of serve as a liaison to the media to kind of educate about our fellowship program. Mm-hmm. We've had a lot of great pieces published about that recently.
Oh my gosh, all thanks to you.
For the Amplify Fellowship,
Yeah, and I'm sure, more people are going to want to write about it because it's an amazing, thing that I'm so happy to be a part of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love the fact that we're going to give voices to a lot of up and coming artists who deserve to have that experience and that support,
Yeah. That's what I'm most excited about that too, and I'm grateful that we got to meet and that we get to do this thing together, and that you lend your I'm like always trying to find your golden pen, that to the words, because I would fancy myself a pretty decent writer. You kind of have to be as an English teacher, but I'm not quite like that. You know what I mean? There's a thing, and you've practiced this in a certain way, and so it's really enjoyable to read. You guys got to read the Stratton Setlist out there if you haven't read it before. It's the StrattonSetlist.com. I posted in the chat on Facebook we can post it in other places too, and I'm sure we will. But you should definitely go check that out, and don't forget to check out Lori's playlists on Spotify, because there's some really great playlists. I was referring to the very last one that you just put out. I think it was like this week.
Just like Wednesday.
Okay, yeah. So it's hot off the presses. You should check it out. There's some really great new music on there. It's like 2.5 hours worth of music. It's Friday night. You might be home now. You should listen to it right now, and read some Stratton Setlist.
Yeah,
for sure.
And thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah.
And thank you, Daniel. For all your ideas. I mean, Daniel's amazing, and
Daniel's also piping in. He pipes in on these quite a bit, and I appreciate that. So shout out to Daniel Wall.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He's a huge supporter of Grove Studios. He's done a lot of amazing things for us, and continues to. In fact, I think he might be out there right now. Maybe he left already, but he was helping us out with some painting. So shout out to Daniel. He's an amazing dude. Lori, we're going to get out, but we always ask the same question at the end. And it's just because we're living in these uncertain times. I know it's like week to week, things are changing constantly, but things being uncertain, what do you think is most certain right now?
For me, people continue to put music out.
Yeah.
So I know some people have held releases for whatever reason, but I'd say keep putting stuff out, because your music helps us get through what's going on. It's helped me a lot. This has been a very difficult year for me personally in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I know it has been for many of us. I won't miss 2020, to be honest, when it's gone.
No.
I don't think anybody will.
No.
But like, the music has helped me, and people want to hear it.
Yeah.
Because it's some sort of consistency, and it brings some kind of renewal to me anyway. The next time I hear someone's put out a new song or a new album or video, whatever it might be. So keep doing it, because people want to hear it. It helps us.
I think that's a really good point.
Yeah,
I couldn't say any better than you, for sure.
And keep doing you and what you are doing, because we really want to hear it, and the music industry needs you. That's for sure.
Well, thank you. It's nice. It's a good partnership, is what I say.
Yeah, appreciate that, Lori. Again, check out the Stratton Setlist, strattonsetlist.com. Check out Lori's playlists on Spotify. It's Lori. You can search for the Stratton playlist, and it should come up.
Yep.
And happy First Fridays to Ipsy, and thanks for making us a part of your event. We really appreciate the First Fridays, folks, and we will see you back here on Wednesday next week. We've got more performances coming up with a bunch of artists. You can check our Facebook page for the schedule of interviews and artists that we have, and we're really just looking forward to it. So
yeah, and shout out to our new plexiglass screen that we got.
The plexiglass screen
studio. So this is going to allow people to come in, feel more safe, have a barrier between you and the person sitting across from you, but you can still see through it really well and get good camera angles from the sides and everything like that. On
camera it looks like it's almost not even there.
You can't even really see it.
I don't even pay attention, because I just see you guys.
Yeah. So it works out really well. We're really excited about it. And, we just want people to feel safe,
Be safe out there. Have a great night and a great weekend. And we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.